The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some Optavia coaches or clients of Optavia. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Optavia team.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I am Lisa Castro, and you have joined the Habits of Health call tonight. And I love this topic because not only does it pertain to helping people on their journey towards creating physical health, it also works towards the emotional, mental, relational, experiential health, because you're coming from a place of being a good mindset to take on the world and be curious about what you could learn through it. And you'll find out as we go through the presentation. So welcome all. If you want to put in the chat where you're coming from, which it looks like a lot of you are already doing, glad to have you on. I see some people from Florida. That's where I'm at right now. My husband and I are heading to Oregon tomorrow for Easter to celebrate with our family and friends. So excited for you guys to be on and excited for the topic. You're ready to get going? Can I get a amen or a one or symbol or raising your hand that all of it works? All right, we've got a lot of people coming on. This is fantastic. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and a PowerPoint that will just kind of represent what we're going to be talking about tonight and give you some visuals to be more clear. Okay, so here we go. We are going to be talking about creating lifelong health, one healthy habit at a time, but we're going to be talking about the healthy mind habit tonight. So I'm going to play from the start. And here's the topic. Again, living above the line. What does that mean? So we're going to find that out. Are you ready for some personal growth? You know, you see this guy here floating, or not even floating, he's just treading water trying to stay above, and he's talking about how he can't do things in his life. He has concepts and limiting beliefs and problems that he's hanging on to, even though it's causing him to drown. And in the distance is what he wants to create for his life. He wants a path to create health in all areas, and it's just to swim away. But because he's holding on to the things that keep him from moving forward, and think about that visual of being below the line, isn't a very healthy place. It's kind of hard to breathe there, but above the line and feeling free of the burdens that can hold us down are freeing and allow us to create the life we desire. So hopefully that's a topic you're here to learn about. And I'm basing a lot of what I'm talking about tonight on a book that Dr. A, our medical director, recommended called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. Now, he recommended it to the leaders in our company, and he did that so that we could work on becoming the best versions of ourselves so we could turn around and help others do the same. Well, I'm doing that today as helping you guys understand the growth that I have had. And I'll tell you, I still got a lot of room to grow. And it's almost like the more I grow, the more I realize I have room to grow. And we also recognize that leadership starts with ourselves. And that's what mostly this is about today, is where can we grow ourselves so that we will be conscious leaders. And let me define what that means based on what the book describes. Rather than permitting my unconscious habits, just doing it because it's what I've always done, or I'm just this way, or people just need to accept, or you're not even aware. How many times have we put food in our mouth and we didn't even know we were doing it? How many times did we say that not so kind thing? Or maybe even, I can't say we, but flip somebody off in the car because they cut you off. How many times have you cut somebody off before? So it's like thinking about things maybe in a different way and being more conscious. You know, because what happens is being unconscious takes away the power that we have. It holds you back. It keeps us where we are currently. And some of us might be thrilled about where we're at. But if you're wanting to be in that growth mindset and say, how could I even move forward more so in my life? Then you're making decisions, adopting habits that regardless of how difficult it might be for a period of time, you want to put these habits in place so that you can have transformation. And in this case, we're talking about transformational leadership, leading your own self so that you'll be more equipped to lead others. So we're going to start by talking about we take responsibility. This is the number one commitment. It's just kind of summed up. We take responsibility we play above the line. And here's my illustration to show you what I mean by that and what the author means by that. Being open. What's going on here? Instead of closed, which is what we'll be talking about next. Being curious. I wonder what happened there. I wonder why that person cut me off. And you don't even need to know the answer. But just being curious changes the whole way we look. Even my body language changes if I'm open and I'm curious. How about committed to learning? What could I learn from this situation? I'll be giving some examples as time goes on here. All right, so the opposite of that, going below the line, is being closed. Have you ever seen somebody that has this look? Do you think they're open to what you're sharing next? Probably not, but open, leaning forward, whole different matter, huh? How about defensive? Well, even the tone of voice, it doesn't even matter what's coming next. You know I'm going to be on the defense just because of my tone of voice, my body language, even the way I moved my head has a direct correspondence to how I'm going to receive what you have to say or not receive what you have to say. So below the line also is being committed to being right. I'm not listening to what you have to say because I'm right. I know how the world should be. And I can get defensive about it. I can be closed about it. Or I could rise above the line and say, okay, well, I'm open to hear what you have to say about that. I'm curious why you would come from that perspective when I'm having this perspective. I could see how maybe that could be perceived differently. Committed to learning. Well, gosh, I'd never taken that into consideration. I'll take it up for review. It doesn't mean I'll accept it, but you know what? I'm committed to learning and growing. So that's the difference, rising above and being curious. So here's how the commitment is broken down. I'm going to describe it. And, a lot of times that I don't want to take you out to the deep waters of the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean and just kind of let you go for it. We're going to kind of break it down a little bit. And I say the deep end of the pool, so that's a little easier than being thrown into the ocean to kind of dive into the situation. But hopefully you're going to rise above the line and you keep thinking that water level. Where do you want to be? Where it's hard to breathe because you don't even want to take a breath and you're gasping for it? Below the line, or do you want to be above the line? And what that looks like, again, commitment 1 in this book is called I commit to taking full, and the word is emphasized, full responsibility for the circumstances of my life. Responsibility for the circumstances of my life. And some of you are already probably thinking, but open your mind tonight, okay? The circumstances of my life and my physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. I commit to supporting others. This is a big one. Okay, we might say, okay, it took responsibility for my physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. But are you committed to supporting others to take full responsibility for theirs? And I'll explain what I mean as we go on. So going below the line, I commit to blaming others and myself for what is wrong in the world. I commit to being a victim, a villain, or hero. Yes, even hero, and I'll explain. And taking more or less than 100% responsibility. Did you catch that? More or less than 100% of the responsibility? I'll explain. Guys, get that? Recognizing above and below the line. Ask yourself, where are you most of the time? Pretty sure you're not above the line 100% of the time. If you think you are, I'm going to ask you to kind of ask yourself some questions as we go through. Okay, this is how below the line will manifest. If you are blaming someone, placing blame on another person, placing blame even on yourself, or placing blame on a system or something outside of yourself, like the government, God, your family dynamics, something that is outside of yourself that you will, blame others for where you're at, or even yourself for where you're at. Man, if I would just do this, then I could do something better. But because I'm this way, and you're blaming yourself. Or if they were just blaming someone else. Oh man, the government is such a mess. If it weren't for them, I would. Those are all blaming. making excuses for why we haven't succeeded in our life the way we want. Well, if I had the money that they have, then I could. We're making excuses. Well, if I could lose weight as easily as they could, then maybe if I was as pretty as that person, I bet I would be more successful. Excuses. Well, I've been sick a lot, and it makes it harder for me to get a good workout in. Or I just don't have time. I'm always busy. How about denial? Well, I don't really have a weight issue. No, I'm just big boned. Or, yeah, well, I really do want to do better with, my finances, but, I'm good. I mean, it's really, I have what I'm looking for. I almost make it paycheck to paycheck. Are we facing our current reality? Eek. And if I'm stepping on anybody's toes, please forgive me. I've been below the line way more than I was above the line up until the last few years where I've really grown, and Dr. A's emphasized personal growth. It's, a place that I still visit every once in a while, maybe even several times a day or more. Ask my husband. No, don't ask my husband. He might tell all my secrets. Actually, I feel like I live above the line most of the time, but we drop below because I want you to see what that can look like. Blame, shame, and guilt. And a lot of it comes from within. How many of us blame ourselves or blame another, and it's all coming from within? It's perceived blame, perceived shame, and perceived guilt of what's going on. And a lot of times it's just our thoughts around something. It's not the actual circumstances. It's our thoughts around it. I'll give you a great example. A guy opens a door for a woman. These days it's getting a little, do I do it or do I not? Because you could open, I'll say this to the men, you could open the door for me and I could say, wow, thank you. That was really kind of you. And be gracious about accepting that gift that you gave me of opening the door and the politeness that showed me, or the respect. Or I could say, what? Do you think I'm helpless just because I'm a female? I can't open my own door? Same action, but I perceived his motivation based on where my mindset was. And that can just eat you up alive if you keep doing it, things coming from the inward self and putting it off on others instead of yourself, and just addressing it and say, how can I grow from this? What's going on? How can I be curious about it? Because what happens is that causes toxic fear. It's coming from a place of toxic fear, even though it might come out as blame. And you'll know if it's fear. If your stomach is kind of in knots, that's a real good way to where it physically manifests. And you can recognize that, ooh, I'm feeling a little bit of fear, but we might have acted out by blaming. We might be even angry at someone. We might even feel ashamed because of the fear that we're having. We don't want anybody to know, or guilt. And then how do we react when we're like that? It doesn't look real good. You see that drowning man again going down, hanging on that rock. We also want to protect our ego. We will inflate our ego to make us, to protect. An ego is a good thing when used for good, but when we use it to tear someone else down, even to tear ourselves down, but if our mind has a tendency, the ego wants to protect us, so it's going to, instead of it saying, you're doing these wrong things, it says, oh gosh, I got to protect myself, so I'm going to blame outward. Or I might even beat myself up. It could come out any direction. So it's an identity issue a lot of times too. There we go, going back up again. Okay, one more time, I'm gonna blow myself up again. And it's like I'm gonna say, okay, I really am that great, and it's all them, and that'll inflate my ego. But does it really move me forward? So that can create the outcome of having a drama triangle. The drama triangle was an eye-opener for me. I am thinking, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was living in this role of blaming, shaming, guilting, all of the above, myself and others and the system. If I had only, well, here we go. I'm going to show you first, victim. A victim is things are happening to me. Woe's me. Oh my gosh, if it were just so, and they're picking on me, or this is that. For me personally, it was my health. I had been in a very healthy place younger in life. I had a stroke at 30 years old. My health deteriorated, and that was a lot of my own doing. But I was like, oh gosh, nobody cares about me. And oh, I can't get out of bed today. And, I'm just so exhausted and I can't get a good night's sleep. And I just don't know how I'm going to get through this day. I'm just surviving. Victim mentality. I lived it for years. I'm going to say about a decade of it. And then I blamed. It's all your fault. If you just took care of yourself, then you would be in a better physical position. And then people would want to spend time with you. And people would show affection to you and love. And maybe you'd have some friends. I was doing it even to myself. Or I would blame somebody else because my husband works all the time and he's not there for me. My clients with my magazine, they are just so demanding of me. And I just don't know how they could just ask that of me at midnight to change something right before I go to the printer. Those evil people. How about the hero? I have a tendency to do that one more often these days than ever because I have overcome so many things that I have faced in my life. And I think, I can save the day. I will fix you. It's up to the person whether they want to take responsibility for their decisions. If I swoop in and I fix it for the moment, it's actually more for my gratitude, for my feeling good about myself, for my ego. And did it really help them if it was just a temporary fix? Still can be guilty. I'd say I was more guilty of this than any of them. But I'm not putting guilt on myself, but I recognize that I'm doing it. And I bet I'm not the only one. If I'm seeing somebody suffering, I feel like there's this tension. And in the book, he talks about this tension, this conflict, and I want to resolve it so I feel less stressed by it. But in reality, what do? I put more stress on myself because I went to help that person and they're not grateful. Those bad people, I'm blaming them. Gosh, if they were just, and then I can be the victim too. Oh man, here I did all these things and this is how they pay me back. We can play all three parts, even in the same paragraph. Sometimes we can do it in the same day. We can do it with the same person, or it can be a variety of people. It shows up differently in so many ways. I'll give you an example that maybe some of you can relate to that have been flying during the Easter holiday. You get there 10 minutes before it's time to board. You did all these things last minute, decide to stop here, go to the restroom, or the traffic was delayed and you didn't anticipate that might happen. So you are mad at the crew because they won't let you on the plane. You're blaming them for their stupid policies because you can't get on the plane. What do? Do you blame? Do you feel like the victim? Oh my gosh, look what they're doing to me and I'm not going to be able to go to my Easter thing. And then you might be the person that hears somebody doing that and you say, oh, here, let me help you. Maybe I can give up my seat, or you do something. And then you get mad at them because they got your spot. You didn't get to your Easter. And do you see how we can just do that and mess with our heads and mess with others and then wonder why the relationship isn't good or how we're feeling about ourselves isn't the best place to be? I spent a lot of time on that because this is a huge one. Recognize when you're in that drama triangle and where you're showing up. And I'd be willing to bet it can be any one of those three areas at any given time. So this is how above the line can manifest. So above the line, you see my triangles there. It would be ownership. Okay, I could have left earlier recognizing that there's a lot of times when there's traffic problems or an accident. So I could have left, to head to the airport much sooner. I took ownership of my responsibility in that. If I went and blamed all the people that were, or that person that had the accident, how dare they? I am on the way to the airport. You got in my way. It should have been this way, and you interfered in what I thought should happen. Instead of just, it is what happens. So I'm taking ownership that I could have done something to anticipate that, knowing that that's a likelihood that it could happen. How about accountability? Am I accountable to someone else for my decisions? Like I'm with my husband most of the time when we travel, and I cause us to be later and I put a stress on him. So if I were accountable and saying, honey, can you help me make sure that we're out of here at 7:15 sharp so that I will, and I know that will be beneficial to our relationship because it doesn't cause undue stress for him. And then we can have a more relaxing conversation. So I'm going to be accountable to him for that. And then how about taking responsibility? Okay, it's time to get up in the morning and my alarm goes off, do I get up or do I hit the snooze a couple of times knowing that that's going to probably cause me to be late? Do you guys see that? Just those simple little examples of what it could look like. I wish I could see all the chats going. There's a whole bunch going on. So hopefully it's good stuff. And I will take a break to look in just a little bit, especially as I look at the time to see how much time we have to go. Okay, this is going to be great. Okay, here's some questions. You say, some of you might say, I am below the line, but what can I do about it? Well, you can ask yourself these questions. What can I learn from this since life is all about learning and growing? What if you had that attitude and said, what's wrong with this? It should have been this way. It's like, what can I learn from it? Dr. A likes to say the obstacle is the way. You know what? A lot of times when things go wrong, that's where we have the most growth. If you look at it with curiosity, like the next sentence says, I wonder what this is here to teach me about myself and life. I wonder what is, and you don't even need to know the answer. Just wonder, curiosity. It replaces placing blame on someone else, something else, yourself, and instead it replaces with curiosity and wonder. Just kind of think of that little and what can I learn? Those two sentences can go a long way when moving you from below the line to above the line. Okay, questions from below to above? You want to hear some questions? First, I'm going to take a little quick look at the chat going on. All right, so I don't know if I can, there's so many. A lot of people are saying this hits home, does take it discipline. Yes, and I'm sure a lot of people are relating to some of these things, and some of you might even be mad at me right now that I'm even being so direct. I would have been there at times. It's like, you just don't know. If anybody's having that feeling, I'm going to give you some questions to ask yourself. So true. Okay, so some great things. All right, a helicopter person saying they're always rescuing someone. That reminds me of a quick story. There was a guy that fell off the side of a cliff, and he just caught onto the root that was sticking outside of the cliff, and he's hanging on for dear life, and he says, God, help me. And this helicopter comes, and it lowers down a ladder, and he says, grab on. He goes, no, I'm waiting for God to help me. And then a boat comes from down below, jump, we'll catch you. No, I'm waiting for God to help me. And then a guy takes a rope and sends it down the side of the cliff and says, hey, grab on, I'll pull you up. No, I'm waiting for God to help me. And then nothing. Total silence. Nobody's coming. He's still hanging on. He's about ready to lose his grip. And he says, God, where are you when I need you? Because I sent the helicopter, I sent the boat, and I sent the rope. What more do you want me to do? We can still blame and not take responsibility. I don't know if that hit home with anyone. So it's like, I've been there, done that. And so I kind of laugh about it because I can look back and laugh at the growth I had, but I'll tell you, it wasn't funny when I was living it. So what if these things are put in our place or put in our life, not because they're like just there. I mean, because life is what it is. It is. We have control over our reaction to it, right? Dr. A talks about that all the time. But what if those things have been put in our life for our benefit? That guy cutting me off in traffic, what if it was to teach me patience? What if it taught me how to have a little more distance between cars? What if it taught me that I want to be more of instead of a defensive driver, maybe even one that is recognizing things ahead of me before I even have to be defensive? What could I learn from it? Do you see that just the little equations, how you could take that even bigger in life? Whether that's your job, your business, your career, your relationships. It's pretty cool to think about it, how it could be benefiting you, even when the negative things happen. And that's so funny. Somebody put in there, it is important to be aware in the moment. And that's exactly what the next slide was. Good segue, Lisa. Okay, so, I guess that is from, I've got a little person working in the background for me, saying my words for me. So awareness. It's not about staying above the line 100%. It's about recognizing when we fall below the line. That's the important part, because then we can lift ourselves up quickly, shift above by asking ourselves those questions about, what can I learn from this? How could I be curious? How can I be open? How can I be about learning? Keep those things in mind. So here's some awareness questions to switch to the above the line. You ready? If something happens and you put judgment on it, instead of it just is what it is, ask yourself, is it true? That person doesn't like me. Is it true? Do I absolutely know that it is true? There might be times it really is true, but it is probably most likely that there's something, they did some body language, you maybe thought they didn't like you, and then what do you do? How do you show up or react when you believe that a person doesn't like you? Do you show up differently when you think they don't? Are you not as nice to them? Are you not as courteous? Or maybe you do the opposite, you try to please them. And you're trying to go overboard and bend over backwards for them because you think they don't like you. You're going to act different if you think, who would I be without that thought? What if I thought they liked me? Would I be different? How about a spouse if you think they don't love you? How do you react if you think that's a true statement? If you believe that thought, you're going to show up differently in that relationship. If you believe you can't follow our program and have the outcome that other people have, how do you show up? Well, see, I blew it again. See, I can't do what they do. But if you believe you can, you absolutely know that that is true, that you could, who would you be without the thought that you can't do it? Who would you be if you thought you could? How would you show up if you thought you could? Somebody put in their chat, cognitive distortions. We can take something and make it something it is not. Even our bodies, we can look in the mirror and think we're fat when we're not, or vice versa. We might have a weight issue, but we're sucking it in, we're in denial about where we are with our weight, our health, our physical health, or we could be lean, but eating very poorly and sleeping very poorly. But hey, because the scale looks good, I must be fine. So we act differently. We don't eat healthier because the scale looks fine. So think about how those questions could help. Is it true? Do I absolutely know that it is true? How do I show up or react when I believe that thought? Who would I be without that thought? Will it lift you above the water? Will you be able to let go of that rock? Will you be able to swim ashore and have that dream, that desired life that you want? Would you move forward? Dr. A brings up in his book, Stop, Challenge, Choose. Great strategy. This is the quickest thing to implement along with those questions. Stop and think before responding. Take a few deep breaths, a couple of swigs of water, and it puts you in a different place. Even shifting your body to a different place, leaning forward, the smile on your face. That alone just a smile can change how you respond to a situation. Pausing can challenge, so during that pause, during that shift, challenge yourself why you feel the way you do. Be curious. Choose your ideal outcome. Will this lead me to what my desired outcome is, this next action? If I cuss somebody out, do you think that that would be beneficial for that relationship? If I yell at that crew member that didn't let me on will that change anything, or is it going to end up hurting me? Is it going to hurt them? Does it affect their day? They have no control over that. So choose your ideal outcome. Gosh, since I'm not able to get on that one, can you guys help me figure out the best way to get to my route? Because I'm in a desperate need to get to a place, for whatever reason. They might even make an exception. Who knows if you handle it differently? My husband is a police officer, stop people. Do you think that when he, it's much better, let's just put it that way, to be gracious about it and be thankful that the officer brought awareness to your lack of responsibility for following the speed limit? It's going to be a different response than if you get mad at the police officer for your action. Okay, that's Dr. A talks about in the Habits of Health, another great resource. Feels good. He talks about, ways that we can change our actions to create the life that we desire. This is another book that was a really good personal growth book for me that is called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. And she talks about learner mindset and judger mindset and how we can get stuck in this pit and not be able to move forward because we're so about asking questions that bring us down or bring others down instead of lifting ourselves up or others up in a way that's constructive, not to where we're going to enable somebody, but we're going to empower someone, including ourselves. That's what the difference is by blaming or being the hero. A hero to fix so that we feel better temporarily is different than somebody that's there to come alongside and help somebody take and support them in being responsible for their own choices and own circumstances. We lift them up, we partner with them as health coaches so they can be in that place to safely grow and mature in their walk. So mindset, love this book. I always thought if I praised people, oh, great job, fantastic, that would be a good thing. But sometimes people think, oh man, I'm not fantastic right now, so I don't want to go to my coach and talk to her about it. So I've learned to say, because you followed the guidelines of our protocol, you're doing well on that. Oh, you're getting good sleep. I love that. You're getting the results of it. Oh, I see how you've learned to manage your stress. And so you're seeing the difference in the scale, or you're seeing the difference in the possibilities that you're seeking in your life. Mindset has a lot to do with how we move forward. It's amazing how the mind has so much control. And for those that think this is just the way I am, I have a fixed mindset, you can change. Our brain has plasticity, neuroplasticity, where you can change the paths of your brain. It's just going to take a little while practicing those habits more frequently and more intentionally. So last but not least, ask yourself regularly, am I taking full responsibility for how I show up? What am I learning from this? Curious. So that you can be above the line, and if you fall below the line, then learn how to pick yourself up and use somebody to be accountable with, and have them help you with that process as well. All right, so I am going to stop sharing and let you guys know that if you stay on, you're going to be exposed to a little bit more about what we offered as Optavia. It's just going to be a quick little presentation and getting the whole idea. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. Good, I'm seeing some comments, and know that this will be recorded and placed. There's a YouTube channel for Optavia. If you look up Habits of Health Zoom calls, you'll be able to see recorded calls, and then you can also sign up for a podcast. So ask your coach how you can do that. You just don't see the visuals on the podcast, so I love the YouTube channel. Thank you guys. Thanks so much for being on.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some Optavia coaches or clients of Optavia. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Optavia team.